The business is growing, their GMV is going through the roof, particularly during COVID, but they can't make any money. People just kind of buy what's at the top of the thing. If we sell the spots for what goes at the top of the list in the app, then voila, you will make more money, brands. But it may not be that simple.
Product discovery is probably not Instacart's strong point. To me, advertiser would want a more of a product discovery experience to make it more effective.
I'm really pleased to have Applico partner and CTO Tri Tran join us today. Tri, great to have you with us.
Awesome, glad to be here.
Just to brag a little bit about Tri's background, Tri knows a thing or two about food. We're going to talk about some of the news with Instacart and what they're trying to do with some new revenue stream initiatives here. But Tri knows a thing or two about food because he co-founded and was CEO of a company called Munchery. And while at the helm of that company for over 6 years, he raised over $100 million for the business. Why don't you describe what Munchery was doing, Tri? And it's such a great story of how you were building that company.
Munchery was a platform connecting local cooks and chefs with consumers. So, instead of going out to restaurants, you would get food made, home style kind of meals. And we pioneered the whole, platform with each chef with their own menus and you ordering it. We do fulfillment, we do delivery, we do on-demand delivery, we do scheduled delivery, got all the pick and pack tech. We're very much leading the pack there during our times.
You know a thing or two about, marketplaces, food, and ultimately, the all the challenges that go along with that, particularly in these B2C food businesses. So, one of the new things that we just saw recently announced was Instacart's kind of aspirations to look at monetizing from advertising revenue much more aggressively. What was some of the background and kind of recent news that came out there?
Yeah, I think there's some data that has been mentioned in the article, basically saying, hey, 20% of their revenue is coming from advertising. So to the tune of $300 million worth of revenue from ads, which is really a great start.
I guess that's been the critique, right, of Instacart is that, hey, look, the business is growing, their GMV is going through the roof, particularly during COVID, but they can't make any money, right? And they don't touch product. They don't actually take any inventory over the product. And, they're an intermediary, which is great. And they've got a lot of volume, which is great. But even with all the COVID volumes, it was reported that even with all of that, they were just able to break even. So that's why I guess, this advertising news, this story that came out recently is such a big deal.
I think all the investment that have gone into Instacart for sure is betting more than just Instacart, moving food products and whatnot to consumers' home, right? It has to be more than that. And obviously the aspiration for marketing, advertisement, and monetizing that, I'm sure has been the goal much earlier on. It's just been taking a while to actually get here. But hey, look, COVID and the pandemic causing the ramp up in consumer using the platform really rejigger the whole initiative and say, hey, how can we juice this up and make more out of it?
Saying that they're trying to grow this thing to, I guess, $1 billion top line revenue, right? But that, I guess, comes with some challenges and just the role of these retail partners and the traditional way advertising has been done with these grocery retailers. What do you make of that? $1 billion, big target. Obviously, Instacart's trying to hype this up and they're trying to IPO in the near future here. How much of this is, yeah, I could see that happening, or yeah, maybe this is a little, maybe they're getting out a bit ahead of their skis here?
Well, look, the team there has been incredible, right? They've grown the company really, really tremendously to date, weather this whole pandemic well and all that. So look, I think, if they put enough effort in it, I'm sure they'll get to that $1 billion at some point. So that's not the concern. I just see challenges to get there that they would have to solve. So if we dive into that, I think the few toughest challenges I see is that consumers tend to use Instacart for quick transactions. Hey, I need to get my cereal, milk, eggs, apple, whatever order for the week. Can I just get that in and be done, right? Get in and out of the app within a minute or less even. So it's more for quick transactions, not so much browsing and shopping around the way a consumer would walk into a physical store and be able to see a lot more products in front of them, and they kind of make the trip worth it. They're already there at the store, might as well take a look at some products as I walk to retrieve what I normally get. So I think product discovery is probably not Instacart's strong point, and to me, advertiser would want a more of a product discovery experience to make it more effective. To place product placement and say, hey, have you considered this product, that product? Pause for 30 seconds here, read up about this new product. Why is it, different or better? So until that experience is more geared towards that and not so much of, I just need to get my milk and eggs and be done. It's going to be harder to get more traction with people actually, finding these advertised products to be useful. So I think that's a big challenge for Instacart, and they definitely, I'm sure, would have to deal with that. The other challenge I see is, okay, so if you make it more product discovery and takes longer to shop, that can be detrimental for the conversion rate that Instacart would want people to, check out and finish paying for a transaction and not, drop the ball or abandon their cart or whatever, because now they have to consider 2-3 other options. So that's the, stuck between a rock and a hard place kind of situation where you want to, yes, improve your ads business, but at the same time, you don't want to be a bad partner to the retailer where the conversion rate would drop or reduce in some fashion.
Lots of interesting points in there. So, where you were saying, yeah, a lot of these consumers, they're in and out of the app in 1 minute. I mean, that's impressive. World. How fast can people check out as a key criteria? And then even Instacart's deck, in this article is saying 25% of sales came from products that people buy at least 10 times. Which I think they're actually kind of using that stat to I guess downplay the repeat purchasing. And then they also say 70% of sales come from items displayed in the top line of Instacart's app. So, I actually think they're trying to get out in front of exactly what you're getting at, right? They're trying to say, oh, look, yeah, people just kind of buy what's at the top of the thing. If we, I guess, just if we sell the spots for what goes at the top of the list in the app, then voila, you will make more money, brands. But it may not be that simple. And ultimately, what that'll do is that'll actually detract and take away from the retail partners if conversion rates go down, if drop off goes down, and so on and so forth. And frankly, it actually doesn't even hurt Instacart that much because they don't really make that much. They make revenue, but they actually don't make that much profit from people just buying groceries and purchasing groceries, right? That's kind of the whole impetus for why this advertising push is such a big deal. So that's kind of the funny irony in all of it.
Yeah, obviously the margin for ads is way higher than having to shop for a product and deliver them. So that has a big cost component.
Anything else on kind of the Instacart topic? And then I think, it'd be interesting to talk about some of what the Instacart alternatives are that we're seeing in the space.
Yeah, I think, what the article has mentioned is, I'm sure the right things that they have to deal with, which is collecting more demographics data, What are the trends of people buying? And those are valuable things that all advertiser would want, right? So I think right now the system is probably in its more nascent or infancy state, so it doesn't have as much data. But I expect the team at Instacart to have to beef that up to make it more attractive.
Yep, and maybe I think maybe what you're getting at is Instacart's obviously they're trying to go public. There's if they want to go public and have a successful IPO, they have to be able to show some success in these areas. But there is a lot more competition. Not just from the Amazons of the world and the Walmarts of the world, which have been making significant investments in grocery and digital delivery. Target was shipped also. But we are seeing other technologies that are trying to level the playing field for grocers, because now, it's 2021. This isn't exactly earth-shattering technology anymore. What else are you seeing that grocers are trying to navigate towards? And maybe looking at kind of Instacart alternatives?
Yeah, I think the most common complaint, I guess, a retailer may have when working with Instacart or similar companies would be, hey, Instacart now own the customer relationship. And the retailers now have handed that over to a third party, Instacart in this case, obviously. So that is something they refrain against or feel a little bit reluctant or maybe quite reluctant and want to find ways to get that back. So you would see, if they're still working with Instacart, they would want to make it like, hey, can you hook in my loyalty program so that they can still track the consumers and what they do and whatnot. But I think otherwise, retailers are looking at other options, similar to how you see general e-commerce, general merchandise, using a tool like Shopify to set up their own shop. Obviously that requires some know-how, IT system and whatnot. And so some folks may be reluctant to do that. And then of course there are, great companies like Shop Hero that our team at Applico here knows well. Act is that equivalent e-commerce, white label, e-commerce provider for retailers who are looking to, hey, own your own brand, own your own customer relationship, and of course, have full control on what they do on the platform.
Yeah, I think you're seeing this in grocery. You're seeing this with restaurants, right? Toast and a lot of these kinds of, I don't know, the point of sale providers, or they're providing different solutions for restaurants. You're seeing, I think, a lot of different, for example, restaurant ordering apps to escape the grasp of Uber Eats or DoorDash that are less onerous in terms of owning that customer relationship, less onerous in terms of the fees that they charge, more of a partner to the retailer or the restaurant, as opposed to a classical kind of marketplace that disintermediates the supplier from the customer and grabs all that value, right? That's kind of this second wave of what you're getting at, like the Shop Hero example, which is like a grocery specific Shopify, which is a great way to describe it. And you're seeing it on restaurants as well. The drawback there is that typically those solutions don't have as much scale. They're not going to bring as much pure play demand to the retailer or to the restaurant. And so the restaurant is getting maybe a similar technology solution without as much of the network value. But maybe that changes as these things grow up and get more traction, since they're a little bit newer generally to some of these spaces.
Yeah, I think these retailers would keep leveraging their physical presence. I think that's the thing, right? They know these consumers are likely local consumer. We're not talking about something shipped in from far away here. Grocery food, restaurant food are all really local. And so they're going to lean on, hey, look, these consumers eventually will walk into our store, will walk into our restaurant. and have that experience as well. So they have a lot of leverage. And look, they're going to have to look for provider who would give them the whole solution instead of just tool A and tool B, because then they would need to have a team to, bring together other tools. And of course, a retailer or grocers or whatever, they're not set up to have such an IT team, behind them, especially not the mid-size or smaller ones for sure. So for them, they would be reluctant from anything but a full-on solution for their online, commerce.
Ultimately, Instacart is not a tech monopoly yet, but the market is certainly seeing a lot of competition out there, and I guess the good thing for the grocery retailers as opposed to the restaurants is the former group has benefited greatly during COVID, and the latter group has really been hurt. And so, the latter group probably doesn't have as much wherewithal to sacrifice going with, kind of less demand, or a partner that's not bringing as much demand. And these grocers, I think, do in many regions, not all, but many, given that proximity and certainly the kind of COVID bump, right?
No, it'll be exciting to see how things develop, surely over the next 12 months here.
Well, Tri, always great to have you on. Thanks so much for joining us today. That's Tri Tran, partner and CTO at Applico, and a great update about what's going on with all things food and food marketplaces. Thanks again, Tri.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.